I want you to think of ChatGPT and these large language models as tools that you can use to give your ideas form, to give your thoughts, realization, to be able to explore lots of different concepts and be able to refine them over interactions with the tool. I don't want you to think of these tools as something that you use to just write essays or answer questions. That's really missing the capabilities of the tools. These are tools that really allow you to do fascinating things. So now I'm going to try to give you an example of this to hopefully motivate you that these tools have immense capabilities and that those capabilities can allow you to do things that would be very difficult to do otherwise. So what is a task that I thought of that would be something that we could all relate to? And I thought about my family, and I thought about this crazy idea. We have this great restaurant from Uzbekistan that's in Nashville. We have a great restaurant from Ethiopia. We've actually got lots of great Ethiopian restaurants. And I thought to myself, what would it look like to create a meal plan that was based on a fusion of cuisine from Uzbekistan and Ethiopia? What would that look like? And in the past, I've eaten keto, so could we try to make it kind of keto? Because I still kind of like to limit my carbs. And, at the end of the day, realistically, I'm going to have to buy all the ingredients for this. And if they're not easily accessible at the grocery store down the street from me, I'm probably not going to cook the meals. So I thought, well, let's go to ChatGPT and see if it can help us with this problem, if it can help us prototype what this meal plan might look like. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, please create a meal plan for my family that is based on a fusion of food from Ethiopia and Uzbekistan. I want to eat keto and up to 2,000 calories per day. Pick dishes where the ingredients are easy to get from an average US grocery store. Now this is a hard problem, right? I don't think that there's a human on the planet that could easily answer this question. And if they are, I probably could not find them. It would probably cost me too much to hire them. And they certainly couldn't do this as fast as I'm about to get it done for me. So I asked ChatGPT to do this for me, and ChatGPT says, here's a sample meal plan that combines flavors from Ethiopia and Uzbekistan while also being keto friendly and within a 2,000 calorie per day limit. Breakfast, scrambled eggs with sauteed onions, tomatoes, and Ethiopian berber spice. Now notice what it does. It puts in parentheses, it says, made with chili powder, paprika, garlic powder, ginger, cumin, and coriander. Now what it's signaling is berber spice is something you can get at the average US grocery store. All of these spices are easy to obtain from a normal US grocery store. So not only is it answering my question, it's giving me an Ethiopian breakfast dish, it's giving me information that I'm going to be able to get these spices. Now, I don't know enough about Ethiopian cuisine to know if this is a really accurate dish. It may not be, it may be sort of inspired by it and very Americanized, but I'm still, for me and what I'm trying to do, this is pretty impressive. It then goes on to say, lunch, Uzbek-style lamb kebabs with grilled vegetables, bell peppers, zucchini, eggplant, and a side of cucumber and tomato salad dressed with olive oil and lemon juice. Now you notice all of this is pretty keto friendly too. Now some people could take issue with the onions, but it's a really good first start of giving this crazy idea I have form. Now, it may have errors in it, it may not be perfect, but I could go and work with this and refine it and start improving it. And that's one of the things I want you to think about throughout this course is don't think of this as a one-off. I give it a question and I look at the answer and I say it's good or bad. No. So I went back to it and I thought, well, one of the things that I'm really missing from this is I don't know how much to eat. So I said, can you give me an approximate serving size for myself for each dish that is within my 2,000 calorie limit? And ChatGPT says, sure, here are approximate serving sizes for each dish based on a 2,000 calorie per day limit. Breakfast, scrambled eggs with sauteed onions, tomatoes, and Ethiopian berber spice mix. And then it has in parentheses 2 eggs, half a cup of onions, half a cup of tomatoes, 1 teaspoon of berber spice mix. Served with a side of sliced avocado, 1/4 medium avocado, and it goes on to give me now serving sizes for each of these different dishes. Now, again, I didn't go and I didn't take it into like some calorie calculator and look at the macros and check if it really fit my diet because I was just fascinated about prototyping this idea, exploring this concept, and I could keep refining it. I could keep looking and improving it asking it to break down things, really and analyzing and making sure it exactly fits what I'm looking for. But instead, I want to do something kind of different. I'm going to go and continue this thread of conversation, this crazy idea that I had, and give it a little more form. And so what I thought about is if I was really going to take this crazy idea into my family, I'd have to think about my 9-year-old son. My wife and I are more adventurous eaters, but my 9-year-old, he's not always going to want to eat everything that we come up with. And so I thought, well, what could I do to help him get excited about trying these things out? And so I thought, I can go back to ChatGPT and I can try to get ChatGPT's help with this. So I said, ChatGPT, my son is 9. Sometimes he won't try new dishes. To make this culinary adventure more fun for him, can you create a short Pokemon battle story to go with each dish? And if you're not familiar with Pokemon, it's trading cards and a game and a cartoon. My son loves it. I will read the stories with him before dinner to get him excited about trying the new food. Make sure the story ends with a cliffhanger that will motivate him to try the new food. Now, maybe I could find somebody who could give me a meal plan based on Uzbek cuisine and Ethiopian cuisine, but and make it keto and do all those things and look it up. I'm not sure they could do it anywhere near as fast, but now we're really moving into territory where it's going to be hard to find a single human being, and to get somebody to do all this is going to be expensive, and I'm doing this in a matter of minutes. So what does ChatGPT say? Certainly. Here are some short Pokemon battle stories to go with each dish. And then we had the breakfast dish with the berbere spice, and it says, story, Pikachu and his friends were exploring the wilds of Ethiopia and they were suddenly ambushed by a group of sneaky Pokemon thieves. And it goes on to have this berbere dragon that they're battling. And then it says, in the end, they emerged victorious, but not before the dragon left a fiery spice that imbued their breakfast eggs with a flavorful kick. Can you help Pikachu and his friends defeat the berbere dragon and enjoy this spicy breakfast? That's pretty amazing, right? We've gone from a meal plan to now help my son get excited about eating this by mixing in some concept that he's really excited about, and it's actually produced a cliffhanger. Is this the best cliffhanger? Maybe, maybe not. But does it matter? No, because I'm rapidly sort of experimenting with my ideas. I'm trying to give my thought form. I'm trying to understand what this would look like, and I could go and I could refine it and improve it further, but it's already done a pretty good job. I could probably take this and read it to my son and have him more excited about trying the dish. So then I thought, well, let's take this crazy idea further. So we're going to be sitting at the dinner table. We're going to read these crazy stories that ChatGPT has generated for me to try to get my son excited about eating these dishes. I thought, what else do we do at the dinner table that I could weave into this? And I thought, well, one of the things we do is we talk about what my son is learning at school. And one of the things he loves is he loves learning math and playing math games. And I thought, well, is there a way I can integrate that into this whole crazy idea? And I said, ChatGPT, I would like you to play a math game with my 9-year-old to teach him about division with fractions and nutrition. Ask him questions one at a time involving Pokemon in these topics and make it into a game. When he wins, the Pokemon win. Ask the first question. And ChatGPT says, great, let's play a fun math game involving Pokemon and nutrition. Question 1. Pikachu and his friends are planning a meal that includes half a cup of cooked rice, but they need to divide it evenly among 3 Pokemon. How much rice will each Pokemon get? And it gives him a hint, and it says, if you get stuck, feel free to ask me for more hints, for guidance. And what does it do? It then waits for my son to respond. So we go and we type in the answer. We type in 1/6. Now notice, before we were asking it questions, and now it's asked us a question. We've told it to create this math game. It's now asked me or my son a question. I'm typing in 1/6 as the answer. And now ChatGPT says, good job, that's correct. Each Pokemon will get 1/6 a cup of cooked rice. We got this answer by dividing 1/2 by 3, which gives us, and it works out the math for us. And so we went from, a meal plan, this crazy idea of a meal plan that's based on food from Uzbekistan and Ethiopia, that's keto friendly, that I can get at an average grocery store. We then added serving sizes or portions to it. We then took that and we got it to generate Pokemon battle stories with cliffhangers that would help my son get excited about eating these dishes. And then I created a game, a math game based on nutrition and Pokemon to go along with this to make it even more fun. And then I thought, well, what else can we do this? I mean, let's really give this thought some form at the end. We've gotten the meal plan, we've gotten the stories, we've got this game. Can we give the game real form? And so I used some of my domain knowledge as a computer scientist to say, let's create code for this. So we're actually going to produce software for it. So I said, let's create code for this in Python, but I want it to be a web application. And I'm not going to go through all the details because they are domain specific. They use my knowledge of computer science. But the key thing is that ChatGPT then generates actual software, the code for software for this. I'm not going through all of it, but the important piece of it is when we get to the end of it, we actually have real working software that I could run on a computer to play this math game with my son. And so you can see that we took some simple idea and we rapidly prototyped it into all kinds of different forms. And at any point in time, we could go and we could further refine one of the forms. So we could take the meal plan that didn't have information about how much to eat, portions, and we could add that into it. We could reshape it into a completely different form. We could then eventually get to the end and take some form that we had created and take it out of the language model and turn it into software. And so that capability of taking our ideas and rapidly iterating and prototyping with them, that's just one example of the type of thing that we can do with these large language models like ChatGPT. Now, I hope this example helps to get you inspired about the capabilities of what you're going to learn to do within this course. Welcome to this course on prompt engineering. I'm Jules White, and I'll be guiding you through this exploration of an absolutely fascinating topic that I'm really excited to talk to you about. I'm an associate professor in computer science at Vanderbilt, and I'm the associate dean of strategic learning programs in Vanderbilt School of Engineering. I'm going to talk to you about this really fascinating and timely and important topic for all of us, which is how do we interact with large language models like ChatGPT? Now, I really hope that this course inspires you to start using large language models like ChatGPT. And we'll talk about what large language models are in more detail in this course. But you can sort of use it interchangeably until we talk about it as ChatGPT is a large language model. Now, we've seen a lot of back and forth and discussion in the news about what are these tools. And what we've really seen them presented as, in some respects, as tools for cheating on exams or writing essays. We've seen them presented as tools for plagiarism or tools that are going to take over the world. And I really want to reshape your discussion of these tools and make you see that they're also, and primarily from my perspective, a new tool to really help unlock human creativity, to allow you to do things that you couldn't do before, to actually take your thoughts and give them form and do it really rapidly. These are tools that allow me to do things faster and better than I could before. Now, I came into computer science. I actually started from visual art. I went into East Asian studies for a while, and then I ended up being a computer scientist. But I've always really had a passion for creativity and understanding how I could use different mediums, be it paint or ceramics or code, to do interesting things. And I look at large language models as sort of a new fundamental medium. I can use it for programming, but I can also use it to create art. I can use it to improve my writing. I can use it to help perform thought experiments. There's so many interesting uses for these large language models like ChatGPT, and we're not properly seeing them discussed. And so what this course is really about is it's teaching you how to leverage all of these interesting capabilities of these models. But in order to leverage these capabilities, in order to go and do the really creative things, you have to understand how you write prompts. And that's what this class is about, is how you interact with ChatGPT or another large language model. A prompt is what you write and give to ChatGPT or another one of these models to get some type of output. But these are fundamentally really exciting tools that I think expand the capabilities that we have as humans to express ourselves, to explore new ideas, and to create realizations of our ideas faster than ever before. Now, to get started on this course, I've actually enlisted ChatGPT's help to welcome us to the course, tell us a little bit about what we're going to learn. ChatGPT has said, welcome to the course on prompt engineering. In this course, you will learn about the exciting field of prompt engineering, which is all about creating prompts that can program large language models to produce high-quality outputs. Now, don't worry. We'll talk a little bit about this. Do you need to be a programmer? We'll ask ChatGPT in a second. We will explore the different types of prompts, their patterns, and techniques for refining and improving them. You will also learn how to use large language models for various tasks, such as knowledge exploration, prototyping, content production, and assessment. By the end of the course, you will have a better understanding of how to effectively use large language models and their potential to shape the future of computing. Let's get started. Well, my first question that comes up out of this is, I want to make sure that I don't have to be a programmer to benefit from this course. Do I need to understand programming to take this course? No, you do not need to have any programming experience to take this course. The focus of this course is on creating effective prompts and using large language models to achieve your desired outputs. While an understanding of program could be helpful, it is not necessary to understand the concepts and techniques we will be covering in this course. What other things might be helpful to me to know before taking this course? While programming experience is not necessary, it would be helpful if you have some familiarity with basic computer concepts such as file management, opening and saving files, and using a command line interface. Now, by command line interface, we mean something like ChatGPT. Additionally, having good writing skills and the ability to think creatively will be important in generating effective prompts for large language models. Finally, being open to exploring new and evolving technologies and approaches will be key to getting the most out of this course. So there's really not a lot you need to know. As ChatGPT has aptly said right here, you need some basic understanding of computer concepts. You need to be able to open up ChatGPT. It calls it a terminal, but you can think of it as you need to be able to open up ChatGPT and interact with it. Obviously, if you can't use a tool for this, you're going to have a hard time opening files. But the fact that you're here probably means you have the right computer skills to do this. The second piece is something I want to talk about. Now, we think of these models as something that came out of computer science, but they're actually things that having experience writing, being able to think about writing clearly and effectively is actually really helpful in this. My father was a professor of creative writing, and it's been really interesting to me because this is helpful to me when I am working with these tools, is to think about what I learned from him and how I design the prompts. And finally, I want to emphasize this last point. Creativity and an openness to exploration is really, really important with these tools. The creativity of the human that's putting in the words for the prompts, who's deciding what goes into that prompt, and the organization and what gets asked and what instructions are given are fundamentally important for using these tools effectively. Now, we've heard a lot about these tools as like they are plagiarism tools. They are tools to do, X, Y, and Z bad thing. But the truth is, if you really want to use them effectively, you have to be skilled. You have to be a creative thinker, a creative problem solver. The more creative you are, the better the outputs are going to be. You also need an openness to explore. You have to remember, this is very early days for these tools, and we haven't developed the best practices in all the different domains for how we're going to use these tools, for how we're going to write prompts, for every domain from healthcare to customer service to creative writing, whatever the domain is, we're still figuring out how to write the best prompts. And so having an openness to go and explore and try out different things is really important. In fact, when you're programming with these tools or working with these tools, and don't get scared because I said programming, because you'll see that you can program with these tools. Anybody can, just by writing normal human language. But when you're working with these tools, often you need to go and try out different things. You need to try something and then be open to trying a different variation on it and seeing what happens, running little experiments. A lot of times in life, it takes so much effort to write something or to generate some program, some software, or whatever it is that we're trying to do, that we don't get to explore as much as we should. We don't get to think enough about design. We don't get to think enough about the big ideas, the problems we're trying to solve. And one of the things that's good is an openness to explore in using these tools. So, what are some of the key concepts that we will learn in the course that will help us with problem solving? In this course, we will learn several concepts that can help with problem solving, understanding what prompts are and how to use them to program large language models to generate high-quality outputs, learning how to create effective prompts by tapping into patterns from training data, being specific with our inputs and using patterns such as the persona pattern, question refinement, and cognitive verifier, understanding how to refine prompts and use techniques such as rewriting, combining, splitting, and expanding to achieve the desired output, learning how to use large language models for various tasks such as knowledge exploration, prototyping, content production, assessment, and more. Understanding how to use few-shot examples to teach large language models new tasks and how to format these examples properly to achieve the desired output. By learning and applying these concepts, we can effectively use large language models to solve problems and generate high-quality outputs across a wide range of applications. So I hope that as we go through this course, that you will become inspired to take the ideas that you're learning, to go into ChatGPT or whatever tool is available to you, and to try them out, to explore the things that you're passionate about, and to see ways that you can unlock your own creativity, that you can give yourself more time for high-level thinking and problem solving, as opposed to being down in the details of how you give your thought form. So throughout this course, one of the themes you'll hear from me is try to give your thought form through this tool. Use it as a tool to accelerate your ideas into realization. So I look forward to exploring this fascinating concept with you, this fascinating topic of prompt engineering. To help you understand why prompt engineering is so important, I'm going to give you an initial example that shows where we tap into really complex capabilities of ChatGPT, but you can also do this with other large language models. And the way we tap into these capabilities is by using a pattern that we can use when we're writing prompts to get into these really interesting abilities of the large language models. Now, if you know these patterns, and we'll talk about them in detail in this course, you'll be more effective in writing prompts. You'll be able to do things that other people won't be able to do as easily. Now, I'm going to give you an example. It's going to use something called the persona pattern. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about the persona pattern at this point, but basically it's a pattern that we see all over the place. You'll see lots of different examples of this pattern out there on the internet, where people talk about using it to do lots and lots of different things. But the basic idea is you're going to ask the large language model, in this case ChatGPT, you're going to ask it to act like a particular persona. So now what does that mean? It means like you're going to ask it to act like a person or some inanimate object or an animal or some system. There's all kinds of ways that you can use this. So it's really, really interesting. But we're going to use it in this example to tap into a persona that is close to me, but one that I know nothing about the domain. So one of the really useful things about the persona pattern is you can imagine if you needed to go phone an expert to get help on some problem, you know who you would call, but you don't know exactly what they would tell you or how they would analyze your problem. And so I wanted something where I know an expert that I could go to. In this case, my wife is a speech-language pathologist, so I could have her look at the output and tell me how good it was. But I know nothing about being a speech-language pathologist or how to do their job. So I imagined that when my son was 3, he was not saying things properly. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, act as a speech-language pathologist. I'm going to tell you what a 3-year-old said, and you will write an assessment for me. The child said, I mean way woy. Now you can imagine this might just me being a parent, hearing it incorrectly, the child's not pronouncing things correctly. I don't know the right way to even capture this, to even express what's being said in words, the right way to do all of this. So this is a complex problem from my perspective. Like, I don't know how to express all of this in language, even to ask the question properly, but I know I would go to a speech language pathologist and I would describe this to him. I tried to think of something that sounded like something my son might have said at that point in time. So what does ChatGPT say? Well, you notice first off, its output looks like a report. It says subject assessment of a 3-year-old speech sample, child speech sample, I meed way woy, has it in quotation marks, and it says assessment. Based on the provided speech sample, it appears that the child may be experiencing some phonological and articulation errors, which are common in children around this age. I don't know what phonological or articulation errors are. I would not have known to ask ChatGPT for these things, but based on this pattern that I'm using, this persona pattern, I'm tapping into this capability for ChatGPT to look at this and know what the right things are to tell me. So it says there's phonological and articulation errors. So it says the child's utterance appears to have errors in consonant production and possibly some difficulty with syllable structure. And so it says consonant errors. It seems that the child is having difficulty with the production of some consonant sounds, specifically the N and L sounds. The child said mead instead of need and woy instead of toy. And then it has in parentheses its assumption. It says, assuming the intended words were need and toy. Because you can remember, my speech sample was I mead way woy, which my wife told me it wasn't a very good example, may not be something that a child would actually say. Despite that, it's still figuring out this is probably what, if that's really what the child said, this is probably what they were intending to say, and it's figuring that out. And then it's telling me they're having consonant errors. They're replacing, they're specifically having trouble with N and L sounds. Then it goes on to say syllable structure. The child's production of the word way may indicate some difficulty with the correct syllable structure. It is possible that the child intended to say play, but produced way instead, which suggests a substitution of the initial consonant cluster PL with a single consonant W. This could be an example of a simplification process called cluster reduction. I would not have known how to ask ChatGPT to see if there was a problem with syllable structure or cluster reduction, but I used this pattern of saying act as, and I said act as a speech language pathologist, and now I'm getting rich output that I wouldn't even know how to ask for. And then it goes on to say, because by the way, when I went, if you want to do something really unpopular, ask ChatGPT to produce an output that looks like it's doing somebody's job. And that's always a way to be very popular. So I did this with my wife one morning, and my wife was not very happy because she was trying to get ready to go to work, and here I am, saying ChatGPT's producing things that look like what you produce. And one of her things that she said to me was, if that was a 3-year-old, I'd be telling the parents they probably don't need to worry. Children's speech is continuing to evolve. And I'm paraphrasing what she said. She said it much more eloquently. But she was like, it's just giving you way overblown analysis of this. And I said, yeah, but ChatGPT says that too at the end. Considering the child's age, it is important to remember that some speech sound errors are developmentally appropriate and may resolve on their own with time. And of course, by that time, she was walking out the door because she really wasn't ready to sit around in the morning and listen to me tell her that ChatGPT is doing what a speech language pathologist does. Do I think it's going to take her job? No. But do I think it has really vast and powerful capabilities that we can tap into with the right patterns? Absolutely. And do I think it gives us the ability to focus on the things that maybe we really want to spend our time on? My wife loves working with kids. She loves interacting with them and trying to understand how to help them. Writing reports, maybe, I'm not sure. Don't want to speak too much for my wife, but I would guess it's maybe not her most favorite part of the job. She really loves working with the kids and trying to help the kids. And so you can imagine something like this where it allows her to focus more on the things that she really cares about in the real world. Maybe it can help her to give form to her thought around the child's needs and write these reports. And so I just hope that you'll see that with a little bit of the right structure in our prompts, we can create these really powerful ways of giving form to our ideas and our thoughts through large language models like ChatGPT.